If your quest for longevity feels overwhelming, here's some good news. It starts with one simple daily habit. MitoPure gummies from Timeline. They're the first ever longevity gummies that ignite mitophagy, your body's natural anti-aging pathway. MitoPure is a clinically validated solution backed by over 15 years of research. MitoPure gummies utilize a powerful compound that redefines what's possible for your longevity. MitoPure produces the first ever urolithin A gummies that support your cellular energy so you feel strong, clear, and vibrant. Boost your cellular energy and enhance muscle strength and endurance, all without changing your diet or exercise routine. As someone who loves to stay active, I've noticed a significant boost in my workouts since I started using it. I feel stronger and more energized, and my recovery time has improved dramatically. Better recovery starts at the cellular level. For more information and to order, just go to timeline.com/Hoffman. Use coupon code Hoffman at checkout for 20% off. That's timeline.com/Hoffman for 20% off MitoPure gummies with code Hoffman. Welcome to today's Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ronald Hoffman. This is part of a series where we talk to Neil Levin, who's Senior Nutrition Education Manager and Product Formulator for Now Foods and one of my favorite physician brands, which is Protocol for Life Balance. Really very, very high quality line of supplements. And today's theme is cardiovascular protection. And another way of phrasing it is what can we do beyond taking cholesterol-lowering drugs? Yeah, cholesterol-lowering drugs may play an important role in cardiovascular prevention, but there's a lot more to it than just taking a statin. Neil is an award-winning board-certified clinical nutritionist. He's a founder and former officer of the American Nutrition Association, a director of the Mid-American Health Organization, and he also serves on the International and American Association of Clinical Nutritionists Clinical Nutrition Certification Board. So he has many accolades. He has a long history in the industry, really a pioneer. And he goes hither and thither and yon, lecturing to health professionals about nutrition. Where have you been lately? Where in the world has Neil Levin been?
Well, a couple days ago, I hosted a webinar that had 228 practitioners, doctors, mostly and pharmacists from the southern end of the Persian Gulf countries, the
Whoa.
Kuwait, Bahrain, Doha,
So
Qatar,
you went right into the combat zone there.
Dubai. Not in
Missiles were
person.
flying.
It was virtually.
Oh, it was virtually. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's
I
better.
am expecting to go there this fall, though.
But you literally do go to many of these foreign countries where
Yes.
they're quite hungry for information about nutritional supplements because they acknowledge that this is an important part of how to get people better, and they may even be more receptivity on the part of some people who, based on their traditional cultures, have welcomed nutritional therapies, botanicals, herbal medicines, and so on.
Yeah, I've spoken multiple times to internal medicine societies in Iceland and North Macedonia, for example. I've done many hospital lectures in the Emirates, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, that part of the world. I've done a number of talks in China.
So
yeah,
you get around, as the Beach Boys song goes. You get around. All right. So let's turn to today's theme, which is, we get so many questions. People sometimes say, my doctor tells me I should take a statin, but I'd prefer to use nutritional therapy. And, my take on that is that sometimes statins are overprescribed. Sometimes they're appropriately prescribed. But there's more to it than statins, and really we kind of need an all-of-the-above approach to cardiovascular prevention. So really that's the theme of today's program.
Yeah, I mean, we have, our bodies need certain inputs to function properly. like any machine, it's a biological machine, but it still needs these inputs. It needs to have the nutrients and cofactors for those nutrients to make things like our blood vessels, our organs, and to have them function properly, to have the energetics and the other qualities going on. So, maintaining electrolytes, even where you need the right minerals. So there's so many factors that go into our bodies, hopefully. And if we don't get them, there's going to be a problem. Drugs can mask some of these symptoms, they can compensate to some extent, but drugs have side effects. They're not ideal. And if we can function properly without them, our bodies will usually be better off if we're compensating for the lack of nutrients that our bodies need. And some of us need extra nutrients beyond RDA or daily value levels, where, because of certain genetics and family history and health conditions, etc., we simply need more of certain things to function properly. And, in some cases, people might need 5 or more times the normal amount of a nutrient in order to be healthy. And that's not something that's extraordinary. It's something that can be measured. And if you are actually testing for what these nutrients do in the body, you're finding that the body is correcting problems when it gets sufficient nutrients. And sometimes it's fine to take along with medications. People should always discuss this with their practitioner, and hopefully their physician is someone knowledgeable like Dr. Hoffman here, who will be able to coordinate these things, and in some cases perhaps prevent them from needing the drugs, or lower the dose of the drugs to lower the toxicity and side effects, or in some cases maybe even gradually get off the drugs by improving something else where the drugs aren't needed so much anymore. So there's many various strategies that can be used, but the important thing is that it's a partnership with you and the doctor when you're looking at these concerns. Because if you go on it, you're on your own, you're not going to get the testing and the verification that what you're doing is actually helping you.
Indeed. So I think there's a couple of use cases for supplementation. On the one hand, there are people who actually have deficiencies. We see a lot of deficiencies of, say, vitamin D. We see a lot of deficiencies of magnesium. We see a lot of deficiencies of vitamin B12, for example. And perhaps there are people who have, on poor diets, have zinc deficiencies, and et cetera, et cetera. So we need to get up to what is considered a sufficiency level. And then there's another level, which is the therapeutic use, almost like, using these nutrients almost in a drug-like way to achieve an effect. So an example might be taking coenzyme Q10, taking more than our body may actually make to drive a therapeutic effect, or to maybe increase the amount of magnesium that we have in our bloodstream to possibly drive our blood pressure down. Almost using them as natural pharmaceuticals. We've coined a term for that, nutraceuticals. In other words, natural substance that actually they do have a pharmaceutical effect. So, I think that there's certainly rationale for using both in cardiovascular protection. So one of the things that, we're talking about these days, and I really wanted to get your opinion on this, because something that it's kind of, unfortunately, it's sort of like, like a B-level celebrity among nutrients. We know about it, but not that many people take it. But I think it is something that really deserves some more attention than it gets. And we've known about it for a long time. It's a nattokinase. And I just want to share a story with you, which is early in my practice days. I was a young practitioner. I was in my 30s. And I got a call from an ad agency saying, we would like to have you be interviewed by a Japanese TV company. I said, that's quite flattering. And he says, yes, they're sending a crew over, and they're also sending over the host of the show, who is considered like the Barbara Walters of Japan. And so this whole crew arrives, these Japanese folks, with with their Sony cameras, and this is like in the 1980s, 19, maybe it was probably 1980s, and they were very excited because I was an American doctor who was using something called nattokinase. And nattokinase is very well known in Japan, but they just were so intrigued and excited that an American doctor had caught on to nattokinase. So that's how far back I go with nattokinase. And, the show aired in Japan, and, probably they had, Japanese translation, Chiron under, my statement. And it was kind of cool. So
yeah, I've been in TV in a number of countries.
Yeah, almost 40 years hence. Has nattokinase stood the test of time? And I think there's new information about nattokinase.
It absolutely has. Just for some background, there's a fermented Japanese dish called natto.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a kind of a slimy, very strong smelling dish that's considered a gourmet dish in Japan.
It's like soy cheese. It's almost like a soy cheese sort of,
like a stinky cheese type.
Yeah.
But made out of soy. And there's two components of it that are of interest. One is vitamin K, and the other is this nattokinase, an enzyme. The ACE indicates enzyme. So it's making an enzyme that discourages clotting, and it's making a vitamin K, that encourages clotting to some extent.
Okay.
So it's a balanced type of food. Now they are extracting the vitamin K. In this case, it's called vitamin K2, and it's a specialized form of vitamin K, which is sold separately. Mm-hmm. We actually sell the K2 that's made from fermented chickpeas or garbanzo beans rather than soybeans, so that people with soy allergies can use them.
Either way, it works. But I want to focus on vitamin K2 because there's some new data on vitamin K2, especially the MK7 kind. But focusing back on the nattokinase, I have heard, some of the really important influencers are starting to talk about it as something that can lower cholesterol, that might have blood pressure effects, certainly has circulatory benefits. So what's the science behind it?
Well, the science, they've done studies, and they're showing that people who are taking it, and the typical amount is 2,000 units per day. And it's a fibrinolytic unit, so it indicates that it breaks up this substance called fibrin, which is a material the body makes to hold clots together. Mm-hmm. So by having an enzyme to break down the fibrin, you're less likely to have clotting and thicker blood. The viscosity goes down, where the blood flows better and is less likely to clot up and cause blockages. So they've done studies on that. They're showing significant reduction in levels of fibrinogen, which is the parent compound of this fibrous material that holds clots together. And they're also showing that significant reduction in blood pressure without lowering it beyond the healthy normal range.
Interesting.
So if you take healthy people and their blood pressure is a little high, but not where it would be considered high blood pressure, hypertension, it's not diagnosed as a disease, but it's running high, and there might be some concern that they were actually giving people this 2,000 units per day and finding that the levels were normalizing within that normal range, but not at the high end, more towards the middle or low end of the range. So it had a nice effect on the blood pressure because of the viscosity issues and preventing the clotting that tends to, even if it doesn't totally block a blood vessel, can slow down the flow and interfere with getting that pressure beyond that choke point.
Is there any concern that if you take it, that it might have too much of a blood thinning effect, an aspirin-like effect, like if you fall down and hit your head, that, you might have a brain bleed, or, people are concerned about that?
Yeah, it would be a logical concern, but that doesn't seem to be an issue at the levels that they're testing. And they did test higher levels, almost 11,000 units.
Okay.
And they found that arterial thickness was improved.
Hmm.
and that the structure and integrity of the blood vessels, in other words, were improved, and the blood lipids, the cholesterol and triglycerides, etc., were actually better managed within the healthy normal range. So
Interesting.
these are positive benefits. Uh, you have to remember that there's a lot of stress on the arteries near the heart. The
Hmm.
heart beats about once per second, and every time it beats, the arteries near it have to actually expand. They have to be flexible to let that pulse of blood through without forcing too much in a narrow opening and increasing the pressure. That's high blood pressure.
Hmm.
So if you can have healthy blood vessels that are strong enough but elastic enough to let that pulse of blood through, then your blood pressure will remain normal while your blood, your heart might pump more if you're exercising or something and get more force through there, but you're not raising blood pressure because you're not forcing too much into a stiff artery that can't expand. Anything you force more pressure, more liquid in, you're going to increase the pressure
Create
unless
the
there's a
shear,
release.
what's called the shear stress on the arterial wall, which then
Yeah.
creates, lesions, and then there's, calcium accumulation and stickiness and clots form and all that stuff.
Yeah, if you can't maintain the collagen in the blood vessels, which relates mostly to uh, protein content and vitamin C and antioxidants to protect it as cofactors, then that stress where you need to replace those cells constantly, you start getting pits in there. And think of a garden hose with leaks, and that's your artery.
Hmm.
It's deadly. It's scurvy at some point if it
Sure.
progresses far enough.
Yeah.
And so you need to protect those by having the right nutrients
Yeah.
and protecting the collagen. But
People
if you
with
can
scurvy get little
also,
micro hemorrhages in their skin. They,
yeah,
like what are called, fancy word, petechiae, and they bleeding gums, and they just don't, their collagen falls apart.
and collagen is the structural material of uh, our organs, our skin, our blood vessels, so many things, our joints.
Okay, folks, at this point, let's pause and allow one of our sponsors an opportunity to share an important message with you. So here goes. Please listen up. If your quest for longevity feels overwhelming, here's some good news. It starts with one simple daily habit. MitoPure gummies from Timeline. They're the first ever longevity gummies that ignite mitophagy, your body's natural anti-aging pathway. MitoPure is a clinically validated solution backed by over 15 years of research. MitoPure gummies utilize a powerful compound that redefines what's possible for your longevity. MitoPure produces the first ever urolithin A gummies that support your cellular energy so you feel strong, clear, and vibrant. Boost your cellular energy and enhance muscle strength and endurance, all without changing your diet or exercise routine. As someone who loves to stay active, I've noticed a significant boost in my workouts since I started using it. I feel stronger and more energized, and my recovery time has improved dramatically. Better recovery starts at the cellular level. For more information and to order, just go to timeline.com/Hoffman. Use coupon code Hoffman at checkout for 20% off. That's timeline.com/Hoffman for 20% off MitoPure gummies with code Hoffman.
Are you ready to experience the future of digestive wellness with Dr. Ohhira's new and revolutionary postbiotic fermented food concentrate? Capsule-free and in individual sachet packets that harness the power of 5 years of fermentation and over 500 concentrated bioactive postbiotics. Dr. Ohhira's postbiotic fermented food concentrate is a nutrient-dense paste designed to supercharge your digestive health, aid in nutrient absorption, and support whole body immune wellness. Each sachet packet delivers a potent blend of fermented paste and prebiotics which serve as fuel for your body's own unique gut microbiome. This concentrate supports your entire digestive tract, does not need refrigeration, non-GMO, dairy, and gluten-free. Dr. Ohhira's postbiotic fermented food concentrate. It is the ultimate embodiment of traditional Japanese fermented craftsmanship, designed for those who seek the highest concentration of nature's restorative power in every serving. Ask your natural products retailer for it today or online at essentialformulas.com.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting our sponsors because they are what make Intelligent Medicine a continuing free resource to you. And now back to today's guest, Neil Levin. So it seems to me that nattokinase has benefits, but perhaps we haven't even fully understood the mechanistic basis for that, because it seems to be more than just a blood thinner or a clot buster. There's some protective effects that kind of, I think, go beyond just its effects on reducing the levels of fibrinogen, or maybe fibrinogen does more than just create blood clots.
Well, it's not just the clots; it's it's the ability of red blood cells to stick together, how sticky they are, and how thick the blood is. You know, how sluggish is the bloodstream, where it's not responding quickly, liquidly to the pumping of the heart and getting through all these narrow
Mm-hmm.
blood vessels.
Yeah.
You've got capillaries in the brain where one red blood cell at a time is passing through. They're so narrow.
I think
And
people
if
have
you
to
have,
understand that it's kind of
yeah,
like some of those blood vessels are so small. It's kind of like a bad day on the FDR, or on the on the freeway on ramp, because it's like literally one red blood cell at a time, and the degree to which the arteries are flexible and the degree to which the blood is less sticky, less adherent, you're going to get better what's called microcirculation, which is really what counts in the brain and many of the organs of the body. So yeah, I guess that could be the basis for why nattokinase works. And actually in medicine, your conventional medicine, they have a lot of kinase therapies. If you have a stroke or if you have a heart attack, they want to give you a kinase. They want to administer it, give you an intravenous shot of it to open up your closed artery. There's this critical window where they want to do it literally within minutes of a stroke or a heart attack or a blood clot in your leg to open up circuit. So these are ultra powerful, refined kinases, and this is nature's own gentle kinase.
yeah. I mean, it's from a fermented food, and it's something that works without a lot of toxicities. It's something that's actually, when people are eating this natto, this soy cheese type thing in Japan, they're eating it as a food, as a gourmet food. It's not something that they're restricting the amount they're eating or anything like you would a medication, because it doesn't have that level of toxicity.
Right. But people in America, it's a bit of an acquired taste. I like it. I used to have it a lot when I used to be on a macrobiotic diet, and was kind of considered a macrobiotic delicacy. It was one of the variations on the way that you could consume soy. You could have soy beans like edamame, you could have tofu, you could have tempeh, and you could have natto. There's a lot of different ways of serving soy, but this is a traditional Japanese way. So good stuff. So let's move to vitamin K, because I just saw here, I am a little confused about vitamin K because initially the story comes out of Netherlands. And the reason for that is that there's this thing called the Dutch paradox. Is the Dutch, they consume a lot of, high fat cheese, and yet they have a relatively low risk of cardiovascular disease. So some guy, you probably know the name of the guy, I forget his name, Dutch scientist, started to look at what's in cheese that may actually have anti-atherosclerotic effects, and demonstrated that that was vitamin K2 and a specific type of vitamin K2. And then there have been some studies saying, no, it doesn't work. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. And finally, a recent definitive study that says that it really does show benefits in slowing the progression of calcification. They used CT angiography, which is a very sensitive technique, better than just regular CT coronary artery calcium scoring. It's like it shows the soft plaque transforming to calcified plaque, the dangerous plaque. Maybe you can shed light on.
Yeah, just a quick background. Vitamin K, it's actually named from the German word for coagulation. That's why K stands for coagulation.
Mm-hmm.
So vitamin K1 is considered an essential vitamin that helps you with clotting, with normal clotting. It doesn't, you don't get excessive clotting.
To back up on that point, because I cannot communicate enough to my physician colleagues that vitamin K is not dangerous. They believe that if you take too much vitamin K, it's going to make your blood clot. But all it does is if you have a deficiency, you'll have bleeding, and if you have a sufficiency and even a surfeit, it can't go to the point where it actually promotes blood clots unless it neutralizes your Coumadin. That's one case where maybe you have to have a caution. But in an ordinary person, it's not going to give you a blood clot.
Yeah, I looked into this to a good extent, and what I found is that vitamin K is an essential nutrient. You have to have it, first of all. So the literature says that the problem is not taking vitamin K with Coumadin or these specific classes of blood thinners. There's other newer ones like Xarelto where there's no
vitamin K
interaction.
effect. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to stop people from getting an essential nutrient. You want to stop them from having varying amounts from day to day. Now, normal vitamin K is found in produce. And, green leafy vegetables is one of the best sources, for example. So if you eat a giant salad on Saturday and then you don't eat any kind of greens or vitamin K
like a kale smoothie where you put right. a pound of kale into the blender, no.
So it's that up and down level of vitamin K that throws off the Coumadin or that class of anticoagulant drugs. If you have a steady state and you determine how much Coumadin is needed because you're eating the same amount of vitamin K every day, whether it's a multivitamin or a vitamin K supplement or greens in your diet, whatever it is, if it's fairly steady, that's actually better for controlling your blood pressure than up and down. So it's the variation that's the problem, not vitamin K itself.
Right.
If you're getting it, and they calibrate the amount of Coumadin and the clotting factors based on your appropriate diet, then you might need less of the drug, and you get the right balance.
Right. With the advent of some of these newer drugs like Xarelto, you mentioned that category, that's not a problem. So fewer and fewer people are taking Coumadin, but for those taking Coumadin, they should not be in a strict prohibition of healthy green leafy vegetables. They can take moderate amounts of vitamin K, but you just do have to adjust the Coumadin dosage appropriately, and they should be, as you point out, they should be consistent and not, very erratic about day-to-day consumption of vitamin K too.
So in general, that type of vitamin K is vitamin K1. That's considered an essential nutrient. There's a daily value of that. That's that they keep changing it around. It used to be 100 micrograms. I think it's 90 now or something like that. But you see a lot of it in supplements as 100 microgram, or often it starts at 45 microgram in multivitamins and goes
it's
up.
It's vegetarian sources for that.
Oh yeah, vitamin K is typically from vegetables. Now
like
in fermented,
K1,
well, K2 also.
Oh, okay.
About 90% of dietary vitamin K is K1 from leafy vegetables and a little bit in beans and grains and those kind of plants. The about 10% is vitamin K2, which I consider to be a fermented form of vitamin K because it's found in yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, all these fermented foods.
Cheese too.
Cheese.
Yeah.
So the cheese converts the vitamin K, the fermentation, into vitamin K2. K2 has less effect on clotting and more effect on calcium metabolism. So you need vitamin K to activate the calcitriol and other factors that pull calcium out of the bloodstream and send it to the bones and other tissues, muscle, where it's needed. So if you don't have the vitamin K2, there's a problem. But when you're looking at a vitamin label, vitamin K1 is up at the top with the essential nutrients that have daily values, RDAs, and K2 is separate now. They used to be together.
Okay.
Just K1 and K2. K2 is now at the bottom of the label with stuff that doesn't have an essential
identity. It's just considered like an added ingredient or
right.
component.
Like if you threw some bee pollen in a
Okay,
formula or something
okay.
that's not essential,
Right. So,
grapeseed extract. So now K2 has these very powerful effects. Now, there's also two forms of vitamin K2.
right.
The
It's like, it's a
common,
little like Chinese boxes here, because first of all,
yeah,
we're talking overall vitamin K. We have K1, K2, and within K2, we subsume a couple of different types.
yeah. Now, there's several types of vitamin K2, but in general, what you're getting in these fermented foods is MK4
Mm-hmm.
is the form. In natto, you're getting MK7,
Oh,
a different molecule.
okay.
There's now it's a very specialized form. If you see vitamin K2 on a label, it's almost always going to be the generic MK4, the type
Mm-hmm.
you would get in eating cheese, yogurt, sauerkraut, etc. Uh, if you want the special form that's in natto, they're going to name it MK7. It'll be from either fermented soy or fermented chickpeas, and now it has dramatically improved bioavailability, dramatically longer half-life in the body. So you're getting many times the benefit of vitamin K2 by taking MK7 versus MK4. You're also paying more for it. It's a
A more premium
specialized,
ingredient. Yeah.
yeah, more expensive, and they're always going to name it on the label if they're using MK7
Right.
because everyone's paying a premium for that. It slowly converts in the body to MK4. So you have this huge pool of MK7 that goes in the body, and you have this sustained effect of producing MK4, which scavenges calcium out of the bloodstream, activates the cofactors needed to utilize it, and it's like a roto-rooter for the bloodstream, pulling the calcium out. Because if you're just taking vitamin D and drawing in the
Yeah.
calcium, and it has no place to go because it doesn't have the right enzymes and other activating factors, then you're not going to be able to utilize it, and it's going to pool up in the bloodstream or other areas where you don't want it.
Right. So I can sometimes, abbreviate this, simplify by saying that particularly MK7, vitamin K2 is like a crossing guard for calcium. It takes the calcium and shunts it away from the arteries and sends it to the bones where it belongs. And that apparently is to some extent the case, that there's bone protective effects as well as arterial protective effects.
Well, sure, because you're stopping the collection of calcium.
So
once your blood vessels start getting weak and pitted, and your body starts making this oxidized sticky plaque to patch it so you don't bleed to death, that starts attracting the calcium. Everything gets stiff and clogged, and the blood pressure goes up, and you're more risk of getting clots forming and impeding the blood flow in these essential areas. Not good.
So these days, a very popular formulation is a vitamin D3 K2 formulation.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think that's essential if you're taking vitamin D, or what's the deal on it?
Yeah, I think people who are taking vitamin D should really consider getting the vitamin K with it, and especially vitamin K2. And regular K2 works okay, but it's very weak compared to the MK7.
Mm-hmm.
The MK4 is weak. But it's inexpensive, and it's in a lot of supplements, and it's fine. But anyone who's really concerned, I take 300 micrograms, which is a big dose of MK7 every day.
Okay.
Because I want to. I'm old. I'm trying to keep my arteries clear. I'm trying to, keep my bones healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get the most bang for the buck.
So,
now, we
so
do
actually,
have other combinations, though.
So this is a little bit of a nuanced discussion. So people who take the D3K2 formulations, which are really quite economical and very popular, they're getting K2, but maybe not in the most bioavailable or potent form. So maybe one should consider, if you really want a premium combination, you just take your D3 and then you take some MK7 separately.
Yeah. Well, we make combinations with the MK7.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
What's that called?
D3 and K2.
Okay.
D3 and MK7. Yeah.
D3 and MK7 as distinct, because you got to make sure that your K2 is the MK4 is okay, but it's not as, shall we say, bioactive potentially as the MK7. So
I'm
that's
much more
good to know.
aggressive trying to keep my heart going.
Got it. No, listen, you ought to know. All right, good stuff. Let's pause because I want to talk a little bit about, people are hearing about taking this and taking that. So many different things to take. There's a combination formula that PFLB, Protocol for Life Balance, makes. It's called Clinical Cardio 6, and it combines 6 powerful nutrients in one capsule. And I want to talk about that because, that may be a more convenient way to access the benefits of some of these nutrients. drhoffman.com/protocol for life balance is the place to go to access these products. drhoffman.com/protocol for life balance. So, and company that I really believe in and rely upon, and it's a really premium company. And I got to say, prices are pretty darn reasonable. And I don't know, maybe that's because this is not a company that is, held by private equity, or, it's not one of those companies that just got bought out by Nestle or, Kraft Foods or something like that as a subsidiary. They're really dedicated to bringing quality products to the market and offering them at reasonable prices. So drhoffman.com/protocol for life balance. Neil, Vince, stay with us. I got more questions for you. I always find it very, very illuminating, and I hope our audience does as well. I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman, and this is the Intelligent Medicine Podcast.